right, episode 3 of the Department Podcast. Justin back with Jesse, Joe, and Steve. Joe, you sat the last one out because you could care less about wrestling, but welcome back.
Welcome back. It's good to be back. You guys did a tremendous job holding down the fort without me, but no, it's good to be here, and I think we're going to talk about some stuff that's right in my sweet spot today. Got a lot to say.
Yeah, we're going to talk about real sports this time.
Yeah,
real sports.
But just like a little update. So right now, the plan is we're going to do NBA, NFL, and MLB and real sports throughout the week sometime.
Yep.
And then over the weekend, me, Jesse, and Steve will record a wrestling podcast. Both will be uploaded day of, day after, roughly the same thing, but it'll focus on their own thing respectively, just so that way then it limits, longer podcasts and things dragging on and bouncing around. But also an even bigger update, we've finally been put on Spotify, Apple Music, and about 6 other podcasting things, quite frankly, I've never heard of, but the links for all those will be down in the description.
Yeah, crazy. It's like, I only heard of Spotify and Apple Podcast before. Then all these other ones, like, what are they called? Pocket Cast and Breaker. And I'm like, okay, put us on. I'll take it. The more recognition, the better.
We're there. And,
Exactly.
And here's the big thing. As we said, as Justin introed in the last show, we always wanted to do live reacts. And of course, if there's a big news, we're going to be here with you guys. If there's something big, we're always going to be around. We just love to talk about sports, and we're happy that we have the platform to do it now. And, whoever is listening, watching, thank you for being with us, and stick with us, because I think we've got big things coming here.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, so just another little update too. We switched from Skype to Zoom. The export quality is a little bit better, so hopefully for the now video version of the podcast, it'll look better. Audio, it really doesn't matter, quite frankly. But Clark, you're on a new mic. I'm getting a new mic eventually. Jesse's running through some audio finally. Last time you had some issues with your computer to begin with.
That was funny.
Yeah, I need to get a new computer too.
I'm right there with you. This thing's chugging along. It's like a crappy iPhone charger where the screen has to be perfectly aligned and straight up, and I'm on like a card table right now.
Yep.
So if it moves, it'll go out of focus and crap out. So yeah, this brick of a laptop's on its way out.
See, the things with laptops, I feel like why they go so fast is because we use them so much. We don't recognize how quick we use them, and then they just crap out of nowhere, basically. So hopefully we all have a nice working laptop or phone to record these nice, beautiful podcasts on.
Well, that's a little, I guess, State of the Union update type thing with going on with the podcast.
A little housekeeping, as we call it.
But so let's get right into the actual sports. Jesse, you'll be right happy and so glad to hear about this. But Mookie Betts signed a 12-year deal with the Dodgers. He's staying in LA and will probably wear the Hall of Fame cap of the Dodgers when he goes in. I feel like they had to make this move to justify the trade at this point.
Wait, what was that, Joe?
I mean, Justin really went out there and threw a Hall of Fame.
I know. Right from the start.
Joe, you've been quoted in saying he literally had the greatest MVP season you've ever seen.
Yeah, I think in recent memory, Mookie Betts' 2018 season was the best non-Trout season we've seen in the 2010s. And what he did last year was special as well.
Yep.
And the reason why is because Mookie Betts is a special talent. And on top of what Mookie Betts brings to the table on the field, he's Trout, but he's got a personality. He does the bowling, he wears the big flashy outfits. He's fun. He's a lot of fun, and I love him in LA. And if they can lock up Bellinger, they have the money to do it. If they can lock up Bellinger, we could be talking about the best righty-lefty lineup combination back-to-back of all time. It's Ortiz and Manny on steroids.
They're building a crazy dynasty. It's the start of something new in LA, and I'm really enjoying it. I know I shouldn't really root for this Dodgers team, but they're obviously the front runner right now. They're securing themselves to be a front runner for the title for at least 10 years to come now. So it's very exciting, I think, to see Mookie getting this big deal.
Really, the main pieces that they have to pay are really now just Bellinger, because when you look at it, Lux has 7 years of eligibility basically before he gets, hits anything. And Walker Buehler, he's got 4 or 5 years even, because he only came up, last year really full time? Mm-hmm. So they have plenty of time. And it seems like the Dodgers are always the team where they never have to bottom out, yet they still find, diamond in the rough, good players,
They are the most perfectly run organization possibly in sports.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure.
From a standpoint of they're able to operate with nearly an unlimited budget. They have spent every penny that they have in order to win. And on top of that, they've somehow been able to maintain a great farm system this entire time. I mean, the scouting, the development, it seems like every person that they've hired, employed, coach, manager, front office, all the way up to ownership has done their job to a T.
Perfectly said. No, couldn't agree anymore.
Unbelievable. Like it's honestly unbelievable. The sustained success. Yes, you can rag on them for not winning a championship. Even the Dave Roberts, having him still in the dugout calling the shots, it means nothing in the long run, because at the end of the day, the Dodgers will, and they have been for the last 7 years, at the top of the NL West, and they will be at the top of the NL West for at least the next 5 to 7 years.
Oh yeah.
My biggest takeaway on the contract, especially, is it didn't feel like they overpaid for him, especially for a player that I think holds very little like wiggle room and questionability. Like when the Phillies gave Bryce Harper the huge contract, some people are like, well, is that really deserved, or is Bryce Harper got more hype to him than he's actually worth? I don't think anybody's arguing that with Mookie Betts. I think, as Joe said, a great 2018 season, doesn't really have any question marks as a player.
No, not at all. Like Bryce Harper, there was always the argument too. Is he overrated? Is he really worth the money? Like you just said. Like you said, Mookie, nothing at all. He's one of the top 3 players in the league, you'd say, or top 2 even?
I'd throw top 2, but you can't argue
top 2?
You can't argue that he's outside of the top 5.
For sure. For sure.
Well, and you also got to look, the Dodgers, as Joe said about such a good front office, I mean, what did they really give up for this guy? I mean, I know it makes sense to get, like, why you had to pay him for the trade, but they didn't give up these huge assets necessarily.
Well,
they got a top 5 player in the whole league, and they didn't give anything substantial up.
Well, that's the thing. They gave up Alex Verdugo, who's, you know, an average major leaguer right now.
And under criminal investigation, by the way.
Jeter Downs, who not even a top-rated prospect in baseball. And I don't even know what else they gave, quite frankly.
And then
not enough.
And then they also traded in the same vein with the Twins in order to get a young flamethrower, Broodstar Gratterall, who is a young up-and-comer throwing 100 out of the bullpen, who's going to be absolutely dynamic. And all they had to give up was Maeda, who really had no spot in that rotation.
And not to mention, they still kept Jock Peterson, who was supposed to be dumped just for like cap relief at that point.
That was a bad trade. I'm so happy. I don't know why the Angels the Angels were the ones that rejected this. The trade was Ross Stripling and Jock Peterson to the Angels for like scraps.
Yeah.
And the Angels said no.
We're also forgetting too, the Dodgers did have to take on, you know, David Price's contract, but at the same time, that's only 3-4 more years. But at the same time, they're going to be constantly competing, so money at that point doesn't really matter.
And they're not paying David Price at all this year because he opted out.
Correct. So that's just a year they don't have to pay, was it like 25 to 30 million almost, I think his contract is annually. Now, were they almost forced into signing him to a long-term deal because the season is only 60 games?
For sure.
Yes, absolutely. But also, is that a bad thing? I mean, it forced their hand a little bit, but I think that putting a little bit more pressure on players and the franchise to get the deal done most of the time benefits in every league. Unless you're Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, then it doesn't matter. But most of the time, even if guys are like, oh, we're not really close on a deal, usually once that deadline hits, a lot of progress is made. We've seen Zeke and the Cowboys really get into it once there was a couple-week deadline. So I think when you put deadlines in place in any league, it helps, extend and make it go quicker. And I think it benefits both the teams and players because there's not that like 2-3 months where it's like, well, we like this guy, but we don't know how much we like this guy just to try to save a couple $1 million here and there.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the same vein, what does the benefit of trading for Mookie Betts, because I think there were some people that think it would have been wasted, but I think even if there wasn't a season, it would not have been wasted. Had the rights to negotiate with Mookie Betts before any other team did. And he was able to have the spring training be in the facilities. I'm pretty sure I talked about this last week. Having Mookie Betts there and being able to negotiate with him first was a big leg up on the competition, and just showing him like how well run the organization was, especially compared to what was going on in Boston, which honestly, if Boston offered him the same contract, which it sounds like they offered him a big deal, and he said no, I mean, he really just didn't want to be in Boston. I don't think it was ever about hitting free agency. I think it has more to do with Boston than anything else.
That's the thing, too. The team is better around him, obviously, on the Dodgers. The sites around him are better. If you were to ask me right now, would I rather go to L.A. or Boston? I'll pick L.A. 9 times out of 10, I say, unless something crazy is going on in Boston. New York, L.A., Miami, all the big landing spots, but he chose L.A., obviously. So, hey, good for him. He deserves
that's the thing, too. He signed his life away for 12 years to the Dodgers, which, not a bad thing whatsoever. But he didn't even have to play a game for him, and he already made that decision, I want to be here.
Yeah.
Well, most people don't play a game. Garrett Cole didn't play a game for the Yankees where he signed the contract.
But at the same time, he was on his way to the Yankees anyway. That was almost always destined. Like, the Angels was just a smokescreen. People who think otherwise are besides themselves. But at the same time, though, he could have played for the Dodgers and be like, maybe, I'm not gelling at this point. But literally, he vibed with him enough that he wanted to sign it before he even got a.
Well, think about where the Red Sox organization is right now.
They're in a rebuild.
I mean, a catastrophic rebuild. Fired the GM basically on a random Thursday night just because. Fired the manager due to cheating allegations. Several bad contracts on the books, way over the luxury tax, so they had to trade David Price. Worst pitching staff, maybe honestly one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball history going into this season. And from top to bottom, the organization is in shambles. And the sad part is that when Mookie Betts came up, they were just coming out of another rebuild. And that was not too long ago. It seems like the Red Sox have this terrible cycle of being really, really up, like at the top of the baseball world, but then being knocked down to the point where, I mean, they're a laughing stock. And Mookie doesn't want to be part of that. I mean, imagine signing that 13-year deal with Boston. You'd probably have to go through 2 rebuilds, looking at their recent history.
Well, the Dodgers are very similar to the Yankees, where they'll never bottom out, but they'll always be competitive, even when they're not a good team.
Mm-hmm.
For their standards, at least, a good team.
Oh, yeah.
But, time will tell with the Mookie deal. Obviously, this year, the Dodgers seem to be one of the odds-on favorites, them and the Yankees, and obviously the shorter season might help those teams, get to the World Series. But definitely moving forward, if they can lock him up long-term, Clark, the voice crack?
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Definitely Bellinger is the next piece to lock up, and I have no doubt in my mind they will.
They will, for sure. If they want to keep this team running and they're the next dynasty, they're the next big dynasty, they're the next Yankees, honestly, if we're being honest. So they're to lock them up, easy.
Well, staying in LA, another superstar, made some news. Mike Trout decided and announced that he will be playing this season, even though he was on the fence a little bit here and there. But this is good for the game of baseball. Short season, they get to put their best player, on the TV for everyone to watch.
Yeah,
this is nothing but good news for baseball, honestly.
Brings in the ratings, exactly, because a lot more people are going to be watching baseball, too, because a lot more people are home to begin with.
Everyone's home, basically.
Exactly. So people are going to be watching baseball, and they're to discover Trout, even though all baseball fans or people who follow sports in general should know who Mike Trout is, the best baseball player in the world right now. But it's best for the game. Best for the game. That's all I got to say.
There's not much to say about it.
No.
Besides the fact that when you have the greatest player to ever play your sport playing, it's going to be a better game, no matter anything. And what would stink is that if Mike Trout didn't play, is that the Angels have a little bit of a squad this year. I'm not going to say they're great. I'm not going to say that they're going to win the AL West, but the Angels have a little bit of a squad. And Trout, Rendon, it's a good top of the lineup 2-3 combination, and I would have been disappointed if Mike Trout didn't play. So I'm very eager because it's if Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan doesn't.
Yeah, when he took his season off.
Yeah, like you miss something.
Yeah.
If that happens, Peyton Manning, breaks his neck. you miss something. So
Yeah, the Colts go
Playoffs.
2-14.
yeah,
Yeah.
you miss a lot.
You don't miss on getting a franchise quarterback for 5 years, though.
Only 5 years.
Yeah, only 5.
You miss a lot when greatness isn't there.
Ugh.
So that's some good news, though, in the world of baseball. But, we've had 3 exhibition games played so far for majority of our teams, the Orioles, the Mets, whatever Jesse roots for, and the Yankees. Right?
Yeah.
We've seen
– fan, right?
What?
Isn't Jesse a Rockies fan?
No, I'm not. If anything, I was a Phillies fan when I was younger.
Oof.
So hey, we had that 2008 squad.
So I think you're still paying Ryan Howard, though, from that squad. But we've had a chance to look at, through the 3 exhibition games leading up to opening day, we've seen multiple ways teams are presenting no fans in the stands. You have the Mets with cardboard cutouts and fake pumped-in noises. You got the Yankees that just look doom and gloom in the mall of a stadium with nothing behind it, but they also have noise. Then I saw a few teams with no noise. Where do you guys stand on that at that point? Do you care seeing the cutouts? Do you like the noise? For me, I personally like the cardboard cutouts, and if they can time the noise properly, it's not bad when it's pumped in, but when it's a fly ball and it sounds like they're cheering for like a home run, it's a little out of place, but I don't mind it personally.
Yeah, I like the cutouts. It adds character to the stadium. But I wish what they could do is change around the cutouts sometimes so you don't see the same guy eating the hamburger in the background, or like put them a couple rows back or change it up a little bit. And I think what we talked about on the last show too, what the Oakland A's are doing too, if your cardboard cutout gets hit by a ball, that they send the ball to you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
and you can pay different prices like for different areas. Like I think it's like more money out in the outfield in prime foul ball range. It's like a little less. Right behind is, obviously the cheapest because that's the less likelihood. Yeah, but it's better than the Mets flat fee of $86.
Yeah, but the stadiums have to make money somehow too. The organization has to make money somehow too. They're not getting the ticket sales. They're not getting the merchandise sales they would usually get at games or any of the vendors or any of that. So this is a good way for the teams to make some money. It's $80 to get a cutout for the Mets, I know. And it's a fun way. You can see yourself on TV from home. Usually when you're at a baseball game, you don't know if you're on TV or not. So you can honestly see yourself at Citi Field, which is fun.
It's a disaster. The cardboard cutouts is disturbing. I feel like I'm watching.
You only seen the one guy with the dog.
Yeah, it feels like a circus. Like it feels like we're watching a Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club band out there. Like
that's the Yankee in you though, because Yankees are always so straightforward, to the point. The most boring baseball team, the most boring stadium. Everything's just so boring about the Yankees. Boring color scheme, just boring jerseys. Don't even have
it's disturbing to see these cardboard cutouts, and it's creepy.
It's fun.
And honestly,
it's better than what they were doing in Japan with the stuffed animals and stuff. That's creepy.
It's a disaster. Keep the stadium empty. It looks nice. It looks cool. It looks.
So Joe, then what's your stance on the crowd noise though being pumped in?
Play music. 9th inning. Beethoven. Like I don't like. Play some tunes. Radioactive, Imagine Dragons in the first inning. Let it happen.
I found though that the noise keeps my attention more, because baseball is at least it's a very slow-paced game. So
you can say that again.
So having just some noise will at least keep you focused. Because if it's dead silence and nothing's going on, and a pitcher's night is like still like shaking off signs or something, it's hard to stay focused at least. So the noise in that regard, at least the ADHD in me, at least helps me focus on that.
The noise doesn't bother me as much as the cutouts. If you want to make money, this is what you do. Last Dance style documentary for every team. Sell it as a DVD at the end. Make millions.
That costs
do people still buy DVDs?
No.
Streaming.
That costs a lot too, the production and all that.
I mean, the most interesting one would be the Blue Jays, because who knows where the hell they're playing.
They can't find a spot to play.
It would be a tremendous documentary for every team.
So speaking of the Blue Jays, the Health Board of Pennsylvania denied them playing in Pittsburgh. So I guess one team is enough, 2 teams too many. Where are they going to play at this point? Because Baltimore's been floated around. They should their spring training facility in Florida floated around. But at that point, does the MLB really want to add another team to Florida coming out of there for traveling?
Dude, Florida doesn't care. Florida, if there's one thing I know about Florida, they do not care. They're jolting up in the numbers. Meanwhile, WWE's still there. The entire NBA bubble is there. I mean, Put them in Florida somewhere. That's probably what it is.
I'm on Fight Island.
The best, I mean, optimally for the team, their spring training facility makes the most sense since, they're used to playing in there for at least in spring training. But at the same time,
They
it's
don't
like
have the facilities.
that's what I'm saying. They're not it's not built for a long-term season with multiple teams coming and going.
They don't have replay capability at these stadiums.
That too. Didn't even think about that. No, you're right.
If
They need a major league stadium, a legit.
They have to.
But at that point, baseball starts tomorrow because we're recording this Wednesday night. If they're going to play at multiple stadiums, they're going to have to work out the schedule with those teams as well because they can't, for health reasons, they can't play multiple games in the same stadium on the same day. So they would have to play, like, say, 3 games in the Nationals when they're up in New York or Baltimore when they're out in Tampa Bay or something. But at that point, you're having more teams come and go at that point, and then more teams are using the facilities at that point. That just makes even more of a health risk.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that you don't have to worry about fans. It's really just TV stuff, which you can work around. So you can definitely move the schedule around more than any other year. So it is possible, to make something happen with the Blue Jays. I don't know. Like, it's very interesting. They might have to play a few games at the minor league facility, but I'm confident they can avoid it.
Hey, we'll wait and see. I don't know. I feel bad for the organization. I feel bad if you're a fan of the team. You don't know if your team's going to play or where they're going to play. It's just it's a very stressful time for them. Put it that way. Very stressful.
To start their season, they're out in Tampa Bay, and then I think they're still on a road trip before they come back. So there is some time before they have a scheduled home game. Yeah. But honestly, at that point, what they might just have to do is play at those. So they're at Tampa Bay, at Washington, and then they're home to Washington. So what they might have to do, because it's 2 games in Washington, 2 games home to Washington, they may as well just stay in Washington, and then for the second
play
games
all the games there.
They're supposed to be home, just flip it of who's home and who's away.
Who stays away from the clubhouse?
Who really, I mean, if it's home and away, who really cares because the fans aren't there?
The only time it matters is the dimensions of the field, and getting used to, like, a wall or a track, like how it plays off the wall. But Joe, you don't believe in that too much?
I mean, I believe that it's different, but, like, I don't think that that's that big of a factor. Like, if a big outfielder goes, from the Red Sox to the Giants, I don't think the big concern is, like, how is he going to handle center field? Like, it's not.
I feel like playing, like, their home games at an away ballpark against that team they're supposed to be hosting can last for so long. But at that point, if you're going to force them to play essentially 60 road games, that's going to be miserable as well for the team.
They play 81 road games in a normal season.
Yeah, but to have only 60, but to have 60 straight road games then at that point?
And not even have a single home.
That's the thing too. They have nowhere to go back to.
Exactly. So you're just on the road constantly. I don't know. It's rough.
I don't know. I think a lot of the players don't reside in Canada full time.
Well, they don't, but they have about a week to figure that out, though, where they're going to play at home.
Yeah.
This is the Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr. era. Like, I think that they're going to be exciting and they're gonna make hay wherever they are.
Bo's going to be so much better than Vlad long term, I think.
What about Cavan?
He's the Ringo of the crew.
I thought Randall Grichuk was the Ringo of the crew.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah. I'm not a Grichuk guy.
No, yet they signed into like a 5-year deal for some reason, just because they wanted something.
That's when everyone was getting extensions. It was
for no reason.
Yeah, just even players that weren't even good, like Grichuk.
Yeah,
extended just for the sake of doing it.
So with baseball starting on Thursday, let's talk about a little predictions. Joe, you always love predicting things and listing things.
I have an honorary crystal ball somewhere.
Do you really?
No.
Do you have that in a certificate as well?
Okay.
So let's start out west and work our way back to the divisions we care about in the the AL and NL East, because that's where all our teams reside. Joe, who do you have winning the NL West?
I have the Arizona Diamondbacks winning.
Really?
No. What?
Oh, what?
The Dodgers are winning the West. The only question is it going to be by 10, 15, or 20 games? I don't care if it's a 60-game season. The Padres are young, they're reckless, they're exciting, they're not going to win. They're the only team I really take seriously is the Dodgers.
I agree. Dodgers, your World Series champs too. There you go.
Could we realistically see the Dodgers win 40-plus games at this point?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, 45-15. That's my actual prediction.
That would be because we've seen teams go on ridiculously long winning streaks. Like the Indians did it, 2 years ago where they won, 23-5, whatever it was?
Yeah.
What if we see one of those teams just go on a ridiculous start and win, say, 25 in a row?
It's going to be tough to see that.
But for me, a team to do it would be the Dodgers, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
But they also do have to play the Astros and the Athletics, which are going to be some tough competition. But no, the hitting is going to be so good for the Dodgers, and they're going to play. They get to play the American League West, which is hitter-friendly ballparks up and down. It's going to be – the lineup's going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Clark, you also with the Dodgers?
Oh, yeah. Dodgers, 100%.
Norms?
Dodgers. Come on. Who else are you going to realistically pick?
Your Rockies?
The Rockies are a joke.
The Rockies are a joke. The Rockies
they are.
The Rockies are actually terrible. They're just sitting on Nolan Arenado for absolutely just no reason. He doesn't want to be there.
Did you see they brought in a reliever who's been out of baseball for 7 years in the majors to have him
He
come out
will
of their
probably be one of the better pitchers on the team.
Their pitching is really bad.
Their pitching is honestly, from the very limited amount of baseball I've seen, I will go out on a limb and say they probably have a bottom 4 bullpen in the entire MLB. It's so bad. The one game I went to when they played the Dodgers, which by the time I got there in the third inning, the Dodgers were up a touchdown, 7-0.
Yeah.
They put in 3 different pitchers from there on out, and every single one of them had an ERA of over 7.
Wow.
One of them had an ERA of over 12.
My God.
I can't imagine what their FIP was.
I'd love to take. I don't even know what that is. Fielding independent pitching, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get into analytics more and more as this podcast goes on. I'm what they call an educated baseball fan. Justin is a simpleton. He thinks that batting average is the right way to evaluate a player, and that's just embarrassing.
What about their FAP?
So what about the AL West?
It's the Astros.
So John Jastrzemski
brought
up a great point about the A's having a lot of talent.
Yeah.
A lot of the analytics say that they have one of the best lineups in baseball. I agree. Mm-hmm. And they might have the American League MVP on their team.
Ramon Laureano.
But not Chapman. But the Astros, on the other hand, still are the Astros. They still have that lineup.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the pitching staff.
It's not that good anymore.
It's not good. It really is not. It's not good. You have 2 35-plus-year-olds, 1-2, and then after that, question mark. McCullers, who knows? He hasn't pitched since I was 3, so I don't even know what's going on there. The bullpen.
Well, honestly, it's gotten worse since the initial World Series team. Take Garrett Cole out of the equation because he's out in New York right now. But then you look at it, it's still worse than the 2017 team. You don't have McHugh. You don't have Charlie Morton. Like you said, McCullers, who knows what's going on there.
Childs, it looked like Altuve wasn't looking so good the other.
He got hurt and had to get helped off he walked off the field, but he still messed up his leg a little bit.
Oh, darn. So
that's a bat out of the lineup. Honestly, even though the Astros are worse than what they were, when people thought they were becoming a dynasty, or at least a legitimate dynasty at that point, I still think they're going to win the West just because the pitching for the Oakland is so suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have an ace or even a number 2. And that's also the problem with the Rangers is that it's just a bunch of number 3 starters climbed together. At least the Angels have no pitching. So they're not going to win the division.
Yeah, they're not.
Hold on there, Joe. I disagree. I think the Angels have a better chance to take the division than the A's.
Why?
Because it's a shortened season. They have 60 games. Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. Pitching, absolutely terrible, but the ball's already juiced. If they can just be a viable offensive team with the best player in baseball in a 60-game season, I don't think you can just necessarily write them off.
Their hitting is not that great.
It's not that great. But if Trout can carry, They also added Rendon, who's not bad, and Otani's back. He's healthy.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything about the pitching. Obviously, pitching wins championships. But sometimes the best player in a shortened season can win you a division.
No.
It's just one player can't do it for me. One player can't do it.
If they finish, and they're going to finish fourth. I'm confident that they're going to finish fourth.
The Rangers are better than them.
In this division.
I disagree.
I'm very confident in that. Because there is a way to slug your way. The Twins slugged their way to a division title.
They were the worst 100-win team I think I've ever seen.
But they had a great lineup last year.
Yeah.
But the Twins at least had Kyle Gibson, Michael Pineda. They threw out there.
Barrios.
He had a good season. Jose Barrios, the ace of the staff. I mean, he had a great season. The Angels, Dylan Bundy is going to get a start in their first series.
He's not good. He will give up 12 runs and then strike out 12 batters the next game, but generally the 12 strikeouts takes longer to get to than the 12 runs. We've seen it where he got blown up by the Royals when he gave up, 8 runs in the first inning without recording an out. So he's not an addition. They also got Tehran, who's not that good either.
No, he wasn't even going to make the rotation for the Braves in all likelihood.
Well, that's why they dumped him.
I mean, come on. And you look up and down. I mean, outside of Trout, Otani, and Rendon, which I will give you talent, you have an 80-year-old Pujols. I mean,
making a lot of money.
Fletcher? Really?
Goodwin?
Fletcher? Brian Goodwin?
I think you guys are thinking about this a little too much like a regular season.
This
is 60 games. Yeah. I think you're writing a team off that has talent that if they just get hot, maybe find one pitcher that can possibly be semi-decent. They could make a run.
That pitcher's not on that roster.
10-8. And there's good pitching. I mean, the Mariners, their pitching is probably better than the A's. I mean, they have the worst rotation by far in the division. And when you, I always say, whoever has the best rotation in the division, I give a shot to anytime. And this is, I mean, if you have the worst rotation, and 60 games is only going to make it even easier.
Last year, through the first 60 games of the season last year, the Angels were in 4th place at 29-31. Rendon doesn't really move the needle that much more.
It'll be 31-29 instead. If anything, I don't see them winning the division. Yes, they can get hot.
They could get it as a wild card team.
It could, but the division's too good. The top 2 teams, the Astros and the A's, are too good for them to compete in it.
Now, I'm actually I really am not high on the Astros.
I agree, Joe. And my reasoning is strictly from the psychological standpoint of, yes, fans aren't there.
They're going to get beamed, though.
But they are public enemy number 1 because I think the only people that were more angry than the fans at the Astros were the players.
If anything, I think that's a chip on the Astros' shoulder now.
They
can prove that they're that team still.
And that's all well and good. But are the Astros the New England Patriots who are targeted and public enemy number 1 and it's us against the world and they embrace that? Or are the Astros players who cheated, were good, talented team, but now with being public enemy number 1, are they going to be able to handle it? Because their cheating scandal was even different than anything else I think we've seen because it was just came out and it was proven and they didn't even really deny it once all the stuff was brought out. I mean, Altuve changed his story about why he didn't want his shirt taken off 7 different times. But once it was out there was no denying it.
I think not having the fans there is going to help them a lot.
Did you see in the preseason game against the Royals, Bregman, Altuve, and Springer all caught a ball while batting?
Yeah.
They all got pegged. Whether it was intentional or not, they still got hit. So that idea is that's going to linger in the back of their head.
Cheating scandal, no cheating scandal. Drama, no drama. it does not make the starting rotation any less of a question mark.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I think they're going to win the division. I think that they're not – I think there's a gap between the Yankees, Dodgers, and the Astros. I don't know how hot of a take that is because a lot of people put the three of them together in the top tier. I don't think so. I think they're a step below Yankees, Dodgers.
Yeah. So just to move this along now, let's move on to the Central. AL or NL? Which one you want to go with first? Clark, you
AL.
pick. Or
AL.
Jesse, you click. Okay, fine.
Oh, we both clicked AL. It's good.
Yeah.
Picked, I don't know.
Picked whatever.
I like the White Sox.
I also like the White Sox.
Really? I like the Twins. I really like the Twins.
I think the Twins are probably the best pick here, but I think the White Sox have the highest ceiling out of anybody in the division.
They have the highest potential lineup-wise. They added Grandal. They're going to have Luis Robert in center field, who's probably the odds-on favorite for AL Rookie of the Year. Eloy Jimenez is going to take it another step. You have Yohan Moncada. You know, they've been a team that they've been slowly building. I think they're still going to be a little bit ahead of schedule since Kopech has opted out this season. So that's a pitcher down, but they're going to be the favorite for the Central for a while. And I think this is going to be the beginning because, yes, their pitching is suspect, but I think this will be the team to bash their way to a division title because look at who they have to play. The Tigers and the Twins, and then the Pirates, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Cardinals, you know, teams who are okay to bad, you know, combined.
Well, and I mean, you didn't even mention a guy like Tim Anderson, who was the offensive force at shortstop last season. If you're telling me a team can get white hot, for me, it's the White Sox in this division.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I just think when it comes down to crunch time of an all-around better team, I'll take the Twins. Any day of the week, I'll take the Twins. But the White Sox are right there. I give them that. They're right there. They're a future team. Both of these teams are two teams of the future, but I'm taking the Twins.
I am going to go on a limb. I think we're going to see a game 61.
Oh.
I think this division will end up in a tie. And I think that the Indians and the Twins are going to tie for first place.
Wow, Indians. Interesting.
The Twins lineup has so much talent. I mean, up and down. They are going to be unstoppable. And I think that their pitching really gets a little underlooked. I think that they're going to be able to throw around some bullpen days now. And they got names. I mean, I like what I'm seeing. Barrios Odorizzi at the top. Maeda, it can be a long man. They have guys, they can piece together a full game. They can do a bullpen day every 5 days, and they can be fine.
Yeah.
The Indians, on the other hand, have, and I don't think this is close, the best rotation in the division.
Yes.
By a good
time,
and they also have two of the top 10 position player talents in baseball. We're sleeping. We're snoozing.
Yes, but outside of Carlos Santana, Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, who else is going to be hitting for them? They have no one else in the outfield.
The outfield's tough, but they got Franmil Reyes, who's a big power bat. And Domingo Santana, Oscar Mercado are fun little players to throw out.
Yeah, but when you get corner outfielders, you're going to want them to produce in the power numbers. And outside of Reyes, you know, they're not really there.
Make up for that when you have your shortstop.
Yeah, but then their catcher Perez doesn't even produce.
What?
Their catcher Perez?
He's the best defensive catcher in baseball.
Defense doesn't win you games. They don't score. Defense doesn't score your runs.
At the catcher position, it saves you so many runs.
Yes, but when they're lacking an offense in the outfield, they can't. Okay, if they lack an offense in the outfield, they can't lack an offense at catcher either. At that point, you're just going off of four positions at the infield, at the middle infield, and the corners. You can't.
They have the best infield potentially in the league.
Joe, you have to bat 9. They're batting 4.
They're batting 4, and you were commending the Angels. They're batting 4. Meanwhile, they have.
Yeah. What about the Angels?
Monster. Garbage. They have a 3-headed monster, and they have a lockdown closer at the back end.
Brad Hand is not locked down.
It was locked down last year. He's been locked down.
He's been
Good number his entire career. I mean,
yeah, I like him.
Uh,
I don't know.
I like him.
They're a wild card. They're a wild card. Put it that way. Like not like in the baseball. They're like legit a wild card.
In the picture until they let go of Francona or they trade Lindor. Until then, they'll be competitive
Well, they're letting go of Lindor soon.
next
And the
year.
team knows that. So there's urgency with this team. And the White Sox, I was praising the White Sox very early on, and then I really thought about it, and they're not that good. They're fun. It's going to be a good time, but they're not that great of a team. They have the best catcher in baseball. God, I'm with them with that, but I don't know. The needle's not really being moved. And I mean, obviously they also have the two worst teams in that division. So let's move on to the NL.
The NL, I'm going with the Cincinnati Reds. This has been a team that's been slowly building up, and with the addition of Castellanos, Moustakas, even Sonny Gray returning to what he was in Oakland and not New York form, Luis Castillo has an unhittable, changeup. They're built to win a short games. They're very similar to the White Sox in the way that they're built to win in a sprint rather than a long, drawn-out marathon of baseball.
Okay.
Plus, you have Eugenio Suarez. Joe, I know you take everyone's season last year and put an asterisk next to it because of the juice balls, but Suarez still hit 50 home runs, and they play a Great American ballpark. That's a hitter's ballpark. They are going to score runs easily.
Yeah, Reds for me as well. I think the pitching is – if you look at the starting pitching, I mean, it's just better than everybody else in the division. And they don't have a terrible hitting lineup, so –
I would say the Brewers as my only argument.
They have no pitching. They have no.
But the pitchers of the Reds, I was about to say, is what leads me more towards the Reds.
And the Cardinals are just they're bad. They're what the Giants were last year, where they're holding on to their aging superstars that they won World Series with. Granted, they have young, scrappy players that will be entertaining. But at the same time,
but it's like a year or two away. This year isn't for the Cardinals.
And the Cubs have been on a slow, just nosedive, basically towards blowing up at that point. Because, I think it's the end of next season. Lester, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, and Kyle Schwarber are all free agents.
My God,
and Jose Quintana. So
even if they sign half of them back, it's not the same.
Realistically, they'll probably bring back Baez and Schwarber just because they'll be cheaper combined. But their windows now, and they've been slowly declining since the World Series. Granted, they won the World Series, so it's like, okay, fine, whatever. But, with that core, you'd expect them to at least get to the CS.
Another one. At least another one. At least another World Series with that group.
But... And the Pirates are a disaster.
I think, and as much, I gave this team a lot of flack last year because they didn't belong there. But I think that this is just going to be a direct result of the Reds not being that great and not as great as people think, and then the Cubs kind of being over the hill with their dynasty. But I think the Cardinals are going to win the division.
Are they actually going to show up in the playoffs this year, though?
Doesn't matter. They're not going to, but it doesn't really matter. I think the Cardinals, they have the pitching, and that's really what it comes down to. They have the pitching that I think these other teams don't have. I mean, I'm excited for this lineup. It's not great, but it's going to be able to slap the ball around, get some runs. But I really am just in love with the pitching. And if Jack Flaherty did what he did the second half of last year, this season, I mean, we're going to see one of the all-time great pitching seasons.
He could be in contention for Cy Young.
No doubt. He's got to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite.
So then let's shift now closer to home, the NL East. Clark, slightly before recording, did you see the news that came out with the Mets or no?
Which one? Which news?
Marcus Stroman is on the IL with a torn calf muscle, and Gazelman will also start on the IL with tricep tightness.
That doesn't change my mind
a few more pitchers at this point.
It doesn't change my mind if I'm picking to win the division, put it that way. Everyone's saying the Nationals. I'm not going with that. I'm going with the Braves. I think the Braves, they're a very good team, this Braves team. There's good competition in the NL East, I would say. One of the toughest divisions, honestly, for real. The Phillies could be great. We don't know. The Nationals, could they repeat? Probably not, but I don't know. Mets are there.
They're the Titanic slowly going towards the iceberg, and they can see it still.
Yes, but I just love the young lineup of the Braves, and it's just fun. It's fun to watch, even though I hate them. So give me the Braves.
I'm with Atlanta for the same reasons as you. They're pitching. If Mike Soroka, Fulton Evans, and all the younger pitchers can kind of take that next step, this team, obviously, they're built for a while. Like Ronald Acuna, he's a superstar. Albies, also a superstar.
It's a fun team.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
the
fun
thing.
to watch.
And they're one of the few teams that still steal bags and actually run.
Speed.
But, the Phillies, they're an interesting team where they're – what, Joe? They're what we think. Is Bryce Harper going to actually be on a competitive team, or is he going to be stuck on somewhat competitive teams that can't get over the hump? They have to sign Realmuto. They just got Grogowski and Didi Gregorius. But now the big thing is their pitching still sucks, but they have an actual competent manager in Joe Girardi now.
The Phillies kind of remind me of the Cleveland Browns in some ways.
I was actually about to compare them to the Rams, actually. But
Okay.
That's also not that good.
A lot of hype around the teams, but the production not there.
It's the superstar name. Yeah,
a lot of names,
exactly.
a lot of names, but the production.
Phillies, the Rams, they give the contracts.
Yeah.
The big names, the guys that you pay tickets to see, but the fill in the crack kind of guys, it's bad.
Yeah.
They're also like the Rams, where they have unlimited assets to just keep trading for superstars. Where it's like, where are they getting these prospects and draft picks at this point? Because they just keep bringing in people, and it's like, yet they still have first-round picks. Like the Rams still have first-round picks, but they traded like 5 away for Ramsey.
Well, and my problem with the Phillies, as being a semi-fan, I guess you could say, is, we only had Harper for a little bit of time, but it feels like pushing, trying to climb the escalator, let it go, let it do itself, kind of ease into your window. If you try to force your window open and just keep flipping and trying to make lineups work and you don't build anything organically, you're not making it to that top level. You are not a top level team.
Well, that's
you
the thing with
have to
Harper.
let your team develop.
Well, that's the thing with Harper. They have him for 13 years. So if they go all in now, they're not going to have the prospects, 4 or 5 years down the line to stay competitive.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they're acting like Harper has like a 4-year window or something. They signed this huge deal, and it's like, no, we need to win in the first 3 years that he's here. But also we need to win with not that good of players. So it's like, what are you trying to do?
And if you look at the team,
what are you intending on doing here?
And if you look at the team too, outside of like Aaron Nola and Rhys Hoskins, who's homegrown really that you could name on that team?
And Nola is one of the most inconsistent pitchers that I think I've ever experienced.
Last year. Yeah, embarrassment.
Yeah.
And coming off of the year before where people were picking him as a Cy Young contender, and then
Zach Wheeler and Jake Arrieta are not going to do it.
They're not doing it for you.
Middle of the rotation pitcher.
They're paying him, and they're paying him ace money.
Exactly. Is a middle of the rotation guy gonna push you in I would say one of the better divisions where the Nationals just won the World Series, the Braves are young and interesting, and the Mets obviously have some good pitching, barring all their injuries and everything that, comes with the Mets.
And Segura and Gregorius are not great players. They're slightly above league average.
Yeah. Nowhere near elite.
Yeah.
So brave for all of us?
No.
I'm going to take Nationals actually.
Ooh.
Because I think there's a couple, I think the shortened season is going to fall into rhythms and patterns. I think we're either going to see young teams do very well or young teams do very bad. I don't think there's going to be like, oh, this young team's doing good, this young team's doing bad. So I think if starting pitching matters and your top 3 matter, the Nationals, I would argue, have one of the top 3 in the entire league with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin.
So
I think if I have to bet whether these 3 aces can take them to the division or these young guys on the Braves, I'll take the Nationals.
So before the Stroman injury, I would have said the Mets. But after the Stroman injury, I'm still going to say the Mets.
Before the Stroman injury, I was going to say the Mets.
Joe, I love you,
but
Joe.
actually, after, I am
going
to say the Mets.
Because
too many question marks.
Rick Porcello, Steven Matz, and Michael Wacha, all, at worst, are going to be average pitchers. And you want to talk about a top three with the Nationals, top 3, nice. The Mets have the top 1, the toppest one of all time. Not of all time, but in recent
modern era.
of the
Yes.
past 3 years. I shouldn't say of all time. Also, the best bullpen in the division by a substantial margin belongs to the New York baseball Mets.
That's all question marks, though.
No, it's not. It's
That's if
4-9.
Edwin Diaz goes back to Seattle form.
If Edwin Diaz does this,
No,
if Familia
Diaz
can
wasn't bad
perform,
last year is the thing.
if Betances can come back from his injury, it's a bunch of question marks.
Kansas, Lugo, Familia, with Justin Wilson, this is a good bullpen.
It's good, but
It
there's
has
so many
potential to be
question
good,
marks.
but also has potential to blow up in their face.
Exactly, potential. It's iffy. It's half and half for me right now.
No, the Mets are going to win the division. Enjoy it. Have fun, because it's going to be a lot of fun. The Mets are winning the division.
All right.
Okay, I'll
And finally,
I'll pray every night, but we'll
real
see.
quick, I think we can all agree on it. AL East. New York
I mean,
Yankees.
it's the Yankees are championship or bust.
I say Yankees,
think
but
the
don't
Rays
count out
can
the
make.
Rays.
I think the Rays can make it interesting because I think the Rays adapt the most out of any team like in the MLB. So if they can figure out the scheduling, fill out the rhythms and the patterns of it, I think they can maybe make it interesting. But the Yankees, it's championship or bust. You need the division.
The Rays are the 4th best team in Major League Baseball. I'll put that out
Yeah.
there. And in a shortened season, it's going to be very close, eerily close, to the point where I might lose sleep over this division. And I know that.
The Rays
But
are the team that
Yankees are the best.
the Rays are the team that always try like weird shit and it works in their
Yeah.
favor.
Yeah.
And this is the season where that weird shit will pay off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, because shortened days, it makes sense for them to throw a bullpen day and throw, a pitcher at 3 innings at a time because then you save them long term.
Exactly.
Hey guys, this lineup is good. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not like your typical Rays lineup of like table scraps and Ben Zobrists. It's good. Like,
And they also
it
probably
really
have the best
good.
defensive outfield also.
I mean,
They can cover a lot of
no
ground.
comment. The center fielder's a great fielder, but I mean, what, you got Renfroe and Meadows on the corners?
Well, Meadows going to be DHing primarily.
So, I mean, who are you throwing out there?
Manuel Margot. Him and
starts on this team with these names. I'd be disappointed.
okay. They're definitely going to be the wild card team, though. Wild card in the AL, I definitely see it being like White Sox if they don't win the division, but probably A's Rays again for like the third
A's
year.
Rays,
again,
for sure.
yeah.
It'll be like the 4th year in a row. That's been
And
A's
they're like
Rays.
the same team. Like, they're like,
Yeah,
like,
neither team has changed.
and in the NL, I think it's going to be Braves Nationals as the wild card squads.
Probably. Or I can see the Diamondbacks getting a wild card.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Okay.
Well, that wraps up for baseball. As we're recording this Wednesday night, so I'm not sure when we'll upload it. So maybe Wednesday night or Thursday morning. But those are our predictions. So we have to see how baseball happens. The sprint starts, though. Finally, we finally have baseball for 2.5 months.
Baseball.